Welcome him to Metalating Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Sermon, this new album of Golden Birds, and more cheers related, well, in general from the new album, well, metal in general. So we're starting with a common question: how have you been during these times? Because we started a pandemic 3 years ago now. Now a war in Europe, so a lot of things happen. A lot of economy prices rise up, so a lot of things happen.
Yes, it's been the most turbulent time I can ever remember. As I'm sure I'm going to repeat what everyone else said. But yeah, it's hard. Everything's hard, and it is getting easier, I think. I mean, over here everything has gone up in price a lot, and cost of living is pretty bad. But oh, all right. That wasn't very cool, was it? At least we can go outside now. That was the hardest thing, I would say, is just being indoors for months. But yeah, apart from that, we carry on. We fight the fight.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. So I've been reading a lot of information about the band, and you with this new Golden Verses, this is the second album from you. So for you, what is the biggest difference that exists with this new album compared to the previous one for you?
It's a lot. The first album is quite a sad album. And the immediate difference with this new one is that it's much heavier. It's much more aggressive. There's a lot more. I mean, the drumming on it is far more the kind of thing that James Stewart of Decapitated Invader usually plays. But it's still got that sermon kind of toms and stuff. And I would say overall, it's just a lot angrier, really, and there's more kind of guitar riffing, whereas the first album is quite soundscape based. So I'd say that's kind of the core difference.
What do you think about the reviewers until now when you release your first album? Because the first album has a lot of influence from Opeth, Porcupine Tree, to a lot of bands into there, especially from the progressive metal. But a curious thing into this aspect is most people are this related with the doomer aspects. But as for me, as you are more like progressive metal band than just call it doom, thrash, or this, or what just one style into there. So into this aspect, how do you define exactly the music from Sermon?
To be honest with you, this is something that the label define. I'm not sure it's particularly progressive. If it's anything like prog music I listen to, like King Crimson or Camel or that kind of old age 70s kind of prog, it doesn't have much in common with that other than the fact that we use Mellotron synth. Honestly, I think it's metal, really, but I don't think that's good enough for people. Like they need to put it categories within categories. But I leave it to them. I'm not sure we're particularly. I mean, I suppose there's a doomy element, but it's not like we're a Wizard or Sleep or My Dying Bride or something. Yeah. I'd just say it was kind of like extreme metal, to be honest, because it goes in and out of. I mean, there could be a ballad, but then there could be blasting for 5-6 minutes. It's there's variety there, so it's hard to classify it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it depends on the reviewers or the people, yeah, as you said. So, talking about the common things, I think this question is a common one into all interviews. Why the band decides to unknow the country when they come?
Say that again. Sorry.
So why the band didn't or don't put the country of your or where the sermon born?
I don't know. I mean, I thought we are described as London based.
Mm.
And I'd swear we've got that. I don't know actually. Maybe you're right. Maybe we have not. But yeah, we're based in England. I'm London, so.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, I told you this because I entered the Bandcamp page, and when I try to see the country, the,
Oh,
it doesn't appear the country from
well,
Ceremony. So.
we can blame the label for that. They can. That's their problem.
Okay, okay, okay. Into this aspect, another common thing into this aspect. Why do you decide to put the mask since the first album to now? What trying to say well, with this tool that you use for your present your music?
The real truth is that I'm a very boring looking person, and the mask I sort of looks more like it sounds, I'd say. It's also it works in a couple of different ways as well, because it helps on stage to wear something. I think like it gives me more confidence in a strange way. It's like a shield for your self-esteem. But yeah, really, it's because I just don't look the way this music sounds. I'm not I don't really look like I belong in the metal scene, really. And that's kind of a superficial answer, but it's the truth.
No, okay, okay. Oh, don't worry, don't worry. So, talking about from this new album, I saw, bueno, compared to the previous one, I saw the detail because you are well, so very be careful with the cover, with the details of the cover art, because the first one has a lot of blue there with a lot of ins, with a lot of details, and it's very difficult to see would exactly see something like a god there, blue eye. Then this new album has like a door from the temple, but in red. So I was like, what do you decide to use a full colors, blue color, red color? Because sometimes it's very difficult to understand in one color what are trying to say the band.
I would say so. I would use color really just to separate it from the other album, and I wanted to avoid doing black because everyone does black. And I thought red has a very regal. Red and gold is quite a regal color. It looks quite royal, and that is quite a theme of the album. The cover itself, like when the vinyl gets released, the door actually acts as a sequence to the way you open the record, which you might see if you get it. But it basically the door explodes on the inside, and then it's empty on the reverse side, and there's a gold disc as well. It all kind of ties quite well together with the name.
Okay, okay. Other aspect about this new album is the titles of the songs, because I'm very fine too interesting too interesting to speak about it, because some titles like Senescence or The Distance or like
Yeah.
in Light the Witch. Well, for me, I'm related to the time, because the time is related to all these aspects. But in general, what are the main focus or the main subject that this album has to express? Because I see golden center, departure, all the time you spoke about the time. Perhaps you have some experience with the time, some faster, some slow, or slow. So who knows?
Do you mean what do the titles kind of mean? Is that what
Yes,
you?
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So I suppose I don't. None of the lyrics are very literal, so everything's written as an analogy. Um, Something like senescence. Senescence kind of means biological age, and in reference to the lyrics of the song, it's the whole album is about power, and that song in particular is about how we kind of destroy the planet, essentially. things like the distance. Distance is quite a vague title, but the song itself is about the when you have a thought of suicide, it's about the moment where an idea between the idea becomes an action, and there's a very finite moment where change in that very, very short distance. So that's kind of, so in that sense, like, you know, in the lyrics, there's no mentioning of the word the distance. It's really just to sorry, my phone fell off. It's really just to, it's to give an impression of the song. It's not being so literal and cheesy than being like suicide, cut yourself. It's not about that at all. It's about being a bit more mysterious about it.
Okay. Well, during the last years, this already exists a lot of mixtures into metal in general. As I said, you have a lot of mixture into your music with the first album, with this new one too. So in this aspect, do you have time to? What is your opinion about now? The metal has more taste compared to the 80s and 90s. When the 90s, in 70s, heavy metal, thrash metal, speed metal. In the 80s, the same. Death metal, not black metal, very, very, very old styles with that very definition ways to do this kind of music. But now it's very difficult to, for the reviewers, it's very difficult to label a band. This is progressive, perhaps. This is experimental, perhaps. So what is your opinion about the metal has? It's like a chameleon that take a lot of textures, a lot of flavors that put into the music. Now it's possible.
I actually think metal is maybe the only genre I can think of where you can put any other genre into it and it will still come out of the other side being called metal. In that sense, I think it's maybe it's got the most variety, I think. Because it would be difficult to, I would say, take a jazz band and start essentially like putting distortion on all the instruments because someone would just call it metal in the end. And that's what I mean. Like whatever happens, metal can kind of take any kind of genre and absorb it and still be classified as metal. And I think that's why metal isn't really a trend. It's always kind of been a popular thing. It's been constant. It's an enduring genre. I think, there's been, things like new metal, which died out and is coming back a little bit. There's been, like all those core bands that still kind of exist, but the boom isn't there anymore. Whereas metal has always kind of been, I suppose it's encased those other subgenres, but it does seem to be the constant, I would say. Okay.
Into this one now, as you know, now we are back in time, and now our like a retro movement. When the people in the 40s and 50s spread the music by singles. At that time, that's the only way to hear music at that time. But now, the people for this new generation talking about 30 years old, 25 years old, or perhaps minus of that. So, and related to this, which song from this new album are captured for whole essence for a complicated album like this is of Golden Bears has? Because for me, it's very difficult to pick just one song. But the new generation usually pick one song to identify this song is much better than the others in one album.
I would say Golden probably has everything. It's almost like taken every piece of the album and it's in one song. And I think it's maybe my favorite song on the album. And I think it's really epic live. But I'd say that's probably the best of Sermon in that sense. But there's a lot of other songs and they all do different things on the album. So it's quite hard to.
Well, yeah, for me, it's very hard to pick just one because, as you said, you have many flavors there that it's impossible to pick one song. But the new generation thinks differently. So, talking about from this new album, what are the future plans that the band has for this new one? Perhaps a European tour in the next couple months, or perhaps this year next, or perhaps a North American tour, or who knows, in the near future a Latin American tour.
I would love to play Latin America. I would love that. We don't have any plans for tours because really it's just that there's not really the money to do it. But that said, we do get offers for things. It hasn't been one for a while, but I think once the new album comes out, I think we will start to get offers in which we can take Sermon to the stage. I'm quite keen to do festivals. I think it's much easier for us to do those than a full tour. But yeah, we'll have to see. It's something I'd like to do though, because it will be good. It really will be good. It's just working out how practical it is to do.
Okay, and talking about from this new album and the writing process, perhaps this pandemic has to do a lot with more concentrating and focusing to write and record this new album, or perhaps these ideas from the last album was composed and written before the pandemic.
It was before the pandemic. It was a couple of years before the pandemic. The writing for this album started 2017. And actually the record has been sat. It took so long to release it because of the pandemic. And really it's been sat here finished for a couple of years now, which is kind of frustrating because it sounds old to me now.
Okay, yeah.
It's a shame because I really am proud of this album, but I've got new ideas and I want to do those, and I want to make sure that they feel fresh. But if an album has just kind of sat there for years on end, it can be you end up finding things you're like, oh, I could have added that, or I could have, it's a bit of a curse really. But I'm still very proud of it, and I can't wait to do it.
Okay, what's your opinion about one? You are relatively new band because your first album came in 2019. That's the second album now in this year. But as you know, a lot of old musicians from the bigger bands, ASAP, Iron Maiden, etc. These new old bands don't hear what happened now in the metal nowadays. And even a very welcome commentary about Chris Barnes said that the new death metal bands especially are shit. Is not like the old ways, etc. etc. This kind of artist doesn't listen what happened nowadays. So what's your opinion about this aspect, the old musicians, the old influence that you have perhaps from the old days, from the heavy metal stuff? Don't listen to what happened now into the metal or into the extreme metal or metal in general.
I suppose it's difficult, isn't it? Because I suppose all like new bands, the problem is we all fish from the same river, so all our inspiration kind of comes from everything being played to us now. We can access more, I think, than ever before, but trends are easier to kind of piggyback on, maybe. In terms of those old guys, Chris Barnes, is he from 6 Feet Under? Is that what he's from?
What?
Is Chris Barnes from 6 Feet Under?
From 6 Feet Under. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, without meaning to start a beef or anything, but compared to say like Morbid Angel or Entombed or something, I wouldn't say that 6 Feet Under is they're not like innovative at all in the genre. Some people might disagree with me, but I think it's a bit hypocritical coming from him personally. But there are, in terms of death metal, I think the best bands are from the 90s for sure. Maybe the late 80s. I love Young Morbid Angel is is up there. In terms of death metal now, I have no idea. I've never really, I'm not really sure what the last death metal album I heard was. I wouldn't even know what to classify it as, but yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I couldn't comment. But if he's saying that they're not original or they're all shit, maybe it's because he thinks that everyone's not really performing as a band like they used to in the 90s, where they're recording to tape. And in that sense, maybe it would be good to get a bit more of that rather than just relying on digital. But yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah, yeah. And what is your opinion about now the new trend? Well, the new way of hearing music is, like you say, digitally, or with the digital platforms, as Spotify, iTunes, etc., etc. But now, what's your opinion about the digital platforms? Is good or is it bad for a movement that prefers sometimes the physical aspect?
Thurman wouldn't exist without the digital, for sure. It does. In some ways, it's great because you can do loads of takes if you haven't practiced. But in other ways, it's bad because it gets rid of the idea of actually performing the music. In terms of a streaming platform, I think it's decimated the industry. I think, it's very difficult to make money out of it because of the digital platforms. It's not really a new opinion, but I like that. I can see that vinyl is doing better than ever before. It's overtaken CDs, I believe, in the UK. So I think maybe that people are starting to try and fall in love with music again, and are getting a bit sick of it as just the commodity that digital makes it.
Well, yeah, that's true. So, well, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoy this one, like me doing this one. This last album is very, very amazing one. We will do a review soon when the label when the label give the access to put a review on our web. So perhaps we want to add something to your Latin American fans and Metalerium followers.
Oh, God, I mean, the fact that there's even Latin American listeners is wonderful. So I can't thank you enough, honestly. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the new. It's been great talking to you.